Okay, grade 7. Today we are going to talk about chapter 8, lesson 1. The lesson on circumference. Okay, this is page 613 of your book. See these vocabulary words? You need to know all of them for you to be successful. And these definitions over here. Please fill this out. We will check it out tomorrow. And answer these questions also. Okay? All right. So the center, this is the middle of the circle. Just this dot. It is in the middle of the circle. And all the points of your circle are the same distance from it. Are we together? The circle is drawn from the center. You don't draw the circle and then put the center. It is the center that defines the circle. Okay? Now, this circle, when you start from the center to this line, okay? The line from the center to the circle is called the radius. So one is radius. When there are more than one, you say radii. Radii means more than one. Okay? One is radius. Many is radii. So many means two and more. Two and more. Okay? So we have to define what the radius is. It is the distance from the center to the circumference or any point on the circle. The distance from the center to any point on the circle is called the radius. Okay? How many radius or how many radii are in a circle? You cannot count how many there are. There is a lot of them. So we are going to say there are infinitely many radii in one circle. So all these lines are what I'm calling radii. So if I continue drawing, I have to fill out this white space. As long as I am getting to the end of the circle. So it is so many I cannot count. So if somebody asks you how many radii are in a circle, you will say there are infinitely many radii in one circle. You need two radii to make one diameter. So two of these lines makes a diameter. You need to know that. And then there are formulas. Diameter equals to 2 times radius. And radius is half of the diameter. You need to know this. All right, let's talk about the diameter. The diameter is the distance from the circumference through the center to the other circumference. You cannot forget to mention the center. The diameter has to go through the center or the distance across the circle through the center. You have to say that. Somebody asks you how many diameters are in a circle. There are infinitely many diameters in one circle. There are infinitely many diameters in one circle. The formula for getting diameter is D equals 2 times radius. Remember to use lowercase. This is not capital, lowercase, small letters, okay? All right, now let's talk about circumference. Circumference, this is the distance around your circle. When you go around like this, that's called the circumference, okay? Now, another name for circumference is the perimeter of the circle. Remember, perimeter means going around any shape. But it is special in the circle, we call it the circumference. Majority of the time, you will see them using circumference. So But if you see a question say, find the perimeter of the circle, it is asking you to find the circumference. And how do you find circumference? You have two formulas. You have circumference equals pi times the diameter, or circumference equals to 2 times pi times radius. Okay? Now, question will tell you to find the radius. It will give you a picture, or it will ask you using words. So, you have to know the radius is a number for a measurement of length. That means you use a ruler to measure your radius. You need a ruler. So if you're using a ruler, your numbers cannot be negative. Your numbers have to be positive. And your numbers can be a fraction, a decimal, or a whole number. And since you're measuring length, you need to use units for length. Units like centimeter, millimeter, kilometer, inches, like that, feet. These are units for measuring length or distance. So let's look at the first question. The first question gave me a picture. I know this is the line from the circle through the center to the other side of the circle. So this line is my diameter. For me to find radius, I need to divide diameter by 2. What's my diameter? 12 meters. So 12 meters divided by 2 gives me 6 meters, and this is my answer. I box it. Then the question says here, now the question did not give me a picture. So I need to know how to read. Find the radius. This is D. Find the radius if the diameter is 7.5 centimeter. What is the formula for finding radius? Radius equals diameter divided by 2. What is my diameter? My diameter is 7.5 centimeter. And what am I going to do with 7.5? I will divide it by 2. So, like we learned in term 1, I converted this to an improper fraction. It is mixed. I change it to an improper fraction. 7 times 2 is 14 plus 1 is 15. I write divide by 2, and since this is a whole number, I will write 1 underneath it. When you're dividing with a fraction, the divide sign changes to multiply, the fraction gets flipped, and then I got 15 over 4. Then I converted it back to a mixed number. How many 4s are in 15? There are 3 4s in 15. How do I know? 15 minus 4 is 11. 11 minus 4 is 7. 7 minus 4 is 3. I cannot remove any more 4s. How many 4s did I remove? 3 of them. So 3 is my whole number. How many remained? 3. That's my numerator. And my denominator is 4. Okay? You need to remind yourself term 1 work. Alright. Find the radius if the diameter is 36 and 9/10 centimeter. Radius is diameter divided by 2. 36 and 9/10 centimeter divided by 2. You divide, and your answer is this. Use long division. Practice. Don't forget things we learned already. 36 and 9/10 divided by 2. 2 goes into 3 one time. 3 minus 2 is 1. I bring down the 6. The decimal is here. 2 times 8 is 16. I get 0. I bring down the 9. 2 goes into 9 4 times. I get 8. I get 1. Since I have a remainder, I need to put a 0 here. 2 goes into 10 5 times. and I get a 0. So there. See, I don't need a calculator to do my work. Simple division and multiplication you can do without a calculator. Alright. So that is how you find a radius. Then the question will tell you, find the diameter. When the question says find the diameter, you need to know the diameter is a number for the measurement of length. So that means your number cannot be negative because you're measuring with a ruler. There's no negative numbers on your ruler. Okay? It must have units. Units like millimeters, kilometers, meters, inches, centimeter, like that. You need to know what units we use for measuring. Alright. So, the question might give you a picture. This shows this is the radius. Okay? Now, the question says find the diameter. The circle is drawn from the picture. So you will say diameter equals to 2r. What does that mean? 2 times your radius. When you multiply 2 and 9, it should give you 18 meters because the question gave you meters. And that is your answer. Find the diameter if the radius is 6 and 4/10 meters. So diameter is 2 times r, 2 times 6 and 0.4 gives you 12.8. You should know how to multiply without the calculator. Times 2, 4 times 2 is 8, decimal, 6 times 2 is 12. There. Or if I can write this 2 times and add. There's so many ways of you doing this. 8, 6 plus 6 is 12. There you go. Alright, find the diameter if the radius is 10 and 2/5 kilometers. So, formula, diameter is 2 times r, 2 times 10 and 2/5 kilometers. Change this to improper fraction, 5 times 2, 50. Plus 2, 52. So you write 52/5. Okay? Then you will multiply your numerators and you will multiply your denominators. 2 times 52 is 104. 1 times 5 is 5. And then you do long division to change it back this way. So 5 goes into 10 2 times. That gives me what? 10. I bring down the 4. 5 goes into 4 0 times. So it is 20, your whole number. 4 is the remainder out of 5 kilometers. I left my answer as a fraction because the question gave me a fraction. If the question gives me a decimal, I will leave my answer as a decimal. Okay? Alright. Then the question will say, find circumference. So what is circumference? Make sure your circumference is a positive number because you're measuring distance. Make sure your circumference has units. Your circumference can be a whole number, a fraction, or a decimal. When you're finding circumference, you have to use pi. They call this pi. This is the symbol for pi. It is here on your calculator. You see? Right here. You press shift. And you get pi. You press SD. See this decimal? It's the same decimal that is in your book. See that? Matches the same one in the calculator. Look, these numbers here are the same over here. Alright. Now, there are 2 formulas you can use for finding circumference. One uses the radius, the other one uses the diameter. So the formula, you can use whichever one depending on the question. If the question gives you radius, use this one. If the question gives you diameter, use this formula. Okay. So find the circumference if the radius is 49 millimeters. So circumference is 2 times pi times radius. And here they told you to use pi as 22/7. So you choose whatever the question says. If the question says use 22/7, use 22/7. If the question says use 3.14, then use 3.14. Okay? So you multiply, put it in your calculator, and you should get that. That's the unit for circumference. So we have another one. If you've been given a picture, you should know this is your radius. You write R over there. Find the circumference. You write the formula. And if the question says use 3.14, you put this in your calculator. This becomes your answer. So whatever the question says is what you use for pi. Okay? All right. Here, find the circumference if the diameter is 140 kilometers. You will say circumference equals to pi times diameter. 22/7 times 140 kilometer. Put this in your calculator and you get your answer. If the question gave you a picture like this, same thing. You should know that this line means diameter. Circumference is pi times diameter. You write your pi, 3.14 times 7 and 13/4. If you put this in the calculator, you should get that answer. So, please do example A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And we'll look at them tomorrow when we come to class, okay?